supply, size and location of the farm, product market, chain of distribution, national income, population and employment, net worth of a business, business transactions, ledger and cash book.
Demand and supply. Consumers are willing and ready to buy more goods and services when prices are low to get value for their money. On the other hand, suppliers are willing and able to bring more goods and services to the market when prices are high in order to maximize profit. Introduction. Production takes place since people are willing to buy goods and services produced to satisfy their wants, whereas suppliers are willing to avail goods and services to their buyers. The value of goods and services is determined by the forces of demand and supply besides other methods. Meaning of demand. Demand refers to the quantity of a commodity that a buyer is willing and able to buy at a given price over a specific period of time. This picture shows a consumer paying for rice. Demand is backed by ability to buy a commodity at a given price over a specific period of time. The diagram below illustrates the meaning of demand. Factors influencing demand of a product. Price of the commodity. Under normal circumstances, the lower the price, the higher the quantity of a commodity demanded, and vice versa. Other factors remaining constant, that is the law of demand. Level of consumers' income. When the people's level of income is high, the demand increases, and when income level is low, demand tends to decrease. Seasonal changes. Demand for some commodities depends on season. For example, sweaters and umbrellas are in high demand during rainy season and low demand during the hot seasons. Government policy. Government may come up with policies either to encourage or discourage demand of a commodity. Some of the policies are taxation, subsidies, legislation, and price control.
Prices of other related goods. Commodities normally relate in two ways, that is, substitutes, which are goods used in place of others, or complement, which are goods used together, such as kerosene and lamp, shoes and shoe polish, among others.
Derived and joint demand. Derived demand refers to demand for a commodity arising from the demand of another commodity. For example, demand for eggs may give rise to demand for hens. The diagram below illustrates the meaning of derived demand. Joint demand refers to the demand for a commodity which arises from the demand of another commodity, which is used together. For example, mobile phone and airtime. Demand schedule. Demand schedule is a table showing the quantities of a commodity that consumers are willing and able to buy at different prices within specific period of time as shown below. Deriving a demand curve. Demand curve is a graphical representation of quantities demanded against price. It is normally derived from the demand schedule. From the demand schedule of dresses, we may derive a demand curve by plotting quantities on x-axis and prices on the y-axis and title at the top. The diagram below illustrates this concept.
From the diagram on demand curve, it can be observed that as price of commodity increases, demand decreases and vice versa. The demand curve slopes downwards from left to right.
Distinguishing between movement along a demand curve and a shift in the demand curve. Movement along a demand curve refers to change from one point to another on the same demand curve as a result of changes in prices. The diagram below illustrates movement along a demand curve. From the diagram, we may note that Movement along the demand curve is caused by change in price of a commodity.
A shift in demand curve refers to change in position of the demand curve either to the left or to the right of the original curve. This is brought about by other factors which affect demand other than the price. The original demand curve slopes downwards from left to right as shown below. A shift in the demand curve to the right means an increase in demand. It leads to the original demand curve DO shifting to the right to D1 as illustrated below.
Meaning of supply. Supply refers to the quantity of a commodity that sellers are willing and able to bring to the market at a particular price over a given period of time. Factors which influence the supply of a product. These factors are also referred to as determinants of supply. They include the following: price of the product. Generally, producers will supply more of a commodity to the market when the prices are high and supply less when the prices are low. This is the law of supply.
State of technology. Improved technology increases the quantity supplied using the same amount of factors of production. For example, use of hybrid maize has increased yield of maize per hectare. Natural factors. Natural factors may affect the quantity supplied either negatively or positively. For example, floods, diseases, and pests may negatively affect the quantity supplied.
Government policy. Government may impose policies which may increase or decrease the supply of a commodity. Prices of other related products. Supply of a commodity also depends on supply of other commodities related to it. For example, supply of hides and skins will be influenced by supply of beef. Deriving a supply schedule. Supply schedule is a tabular form showing the quantity of a commodity that the suppliers are willing and able to bring to the market at different prices over a specific period of time as demonstrated below. Click on the price and quantity supplied to appear on the opposite side. Supply schedule of maize. Price per bag of maize 1,000. Quantity supplied 50. Price per bag of maize 1,500. Quantity supplied 100 bags. Price per bag of maize 2,000. Quantity supplied 150 bags. Price per bag of maize 2,500. Quantity supplied 200 bags. Deriving a supply curve from a supply schedule. A supply curve is a graph showing the relationship between prices of a commodity and the quantity supplied. From the supply schedule of maize, we may derive a supply curve by plotting quantities on x-axis and prices on the y-axis, and the title at the top. Click on each price and supply curve will appear bit by bit.
From the diagram above, it may be concluded that the supply curve slopes upwards from left to right, meaning the higher the price, the higher the supply, and vice versa.
Distinction between movement along a supply curve and a shift in a supply curve. Movement along a supply curve refers to a change from one point to another on the same supply curve as a result of changes in prices. The diagram below illustrates movement along a supply curve.
From the diagram above, we may note that movement along the supply curve is caused by change in price of a commodity. For example, when the price of the product increases from 2 Kenya shillings to 3 Kenya shillings, the quantity supplied increases 20 kilograms to 30 kilograms. A shift in supply curve refers to change in position of the supply curve either to the left or to the right of the original supply curve as illustrated below. A shift in the supply curve to the right means an increase in supply, which results in supply curve moving to a new position. The original supply curve SO shifts to S1 as illustrated below. A shift in supply curve to the left means a decrease in supply, which results in supply curve moving to a new position. The original supply curve SO moves to S2 as illustrated below.
Determination of equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. Price of a commodity is normally determined by the interaction of demand and supply in the market. The following diagram illustrates how equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity are determined in a market. Equilibrium price, abbreviated as PO, is the price at which demand and supply of a commodity is equal. Equilibrium quantity, abbreviated as QO, is the quantity at which quantity demanded is equal to the quantity supplied of a commodity. Equilibrium. The term equilibrium means equal. This is the point at which the quantity demanded is equal to the quantity. Effects of excess demand in the market. Shortage of goods in the market. Rationing refers to the situation where buyers are not allowed to buy beyond a certain limit. Hoarding is where sellers may decide to hide the commodity with the aim of maximizing profit when prices go up. Queuing is where the buyers line at the point of sale. Effects of excess supply in the market. Results to surplus of goods in the market, leads to high storage costs, results to wastage of goods. In case of perishable goods, the seller may be forced to sell at low prices. It discourages production and may lead to closure of some industries. Effect of a shift in demand curve to the right on equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. A shift in demand curve to the right means an increase in demand, relocating demand curve from D1 to D2 as illustrated below. From the diagram, a shift in demand curve to the right implies an increase in demand, an increase in equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity to P2 and Q2 respectively. Effect of a shift in demand curve to the left on equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. A shift in demand curve to the left means a decrease in demand, relocating the demand curve to the left of the original demand curve D1 to D3 as shown in the diagram below. From the diagram, a shift in demand curve to the left results in a decrease in demand, which leads to decrease in equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity to P3 and Q3 as illustrated in the diagram. Effect of a shift in supply curve to the right on equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. A shift in supply curve to the right means an increase in supply. It results to a decrease in equilibrium price and an increase in equilibrium quantity as shown below in the diagram.
From the diagram, we note that an increase in supply leads to a decrease in equilibrium price from PO to P1 and an increase in equilibrium quantity from QO to Q1. The supply curve shifts from SO to S1. Effect of a shift in supply curve to the left
on equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. A decrease in supply results to supply curve moving to the left of the original curve, leading to an increase in equilibrium price and a decrease in equilibrium quantity as shown in the diagram below.
From the diagram, we may conclude that a decrease in supply results to supply curve shifting from SO to S2, The equilibrium price increases from PO to P2 and equilibrium quantity decreases from QO to Q2. Other methods of determining price of a product. Government intervention is whereby government can use measures like price control, taxation, and subsidies to regulate price of commodities. Haggling or bargaining is whereby the prospective buyer and seller argue over the price until they reach one price agreeable by all.
Sasa bei ni namna gani? Bei ni ile kama 6,000 7,000 wataka ipi? Kama ile ya maziwa mnauza pesa ngapi? Kama ile 8,000 9,000 na kwa vile haina maziwa ya kutosha itakuzia 7,500. Na hii nyingine ambayo inaonekana hii imesama iko bado? Ni bado saa. Na hii nyingine? Hiyo nyingine ni ile ya kienyeji. Hiyo sio grade. Hiyo sio ile grade. Sasa hii grade pesa ngapi? 7,500. Okay, na wewe chukua 4,000. Hapana. Hiyo bei ya zamani sana. Unajua kulingana na vile buzi zimegeuzwa. Leo iko na bei kali. Okay. Sasa unaweza chukua kwa 5,000. Hapana. Ongeza bili iwe 7. Mwisho wake pesa ngapi? 7,000 mwisho. 7,000 mwisho. Sasa niko na 6 utachukua? Hapana. Ongeza 600 nikukatie 4. 400? Okay. Sawa, nilikuwa nataka tu moja. Alafu nyingine nitakuja kuchukua baadaye. Nitashukuru sana. Nimeshukuru. Okay. Na tuonane. Sawa. Karibu.
Auction is where price of a commodity is determined by bidding and the highest bidder pays and gets the commodity. Tendering is where price is determined when buyers are invited to quote their prices independently and the one who quotes the favorable price and terms wins the tender.